Welcome, everyone. It's the Mike Tech Show, show number 934. Tonight, going to talk about a QuickBooks PDF fix. Had a server move going from one site to another, and I got to describe some of that. I have an email that I'll talk about it in the show. I got to go from MacMail to Outlook for the Mac. Got a lot of Outlook stories and Outlook emails. So lots of, Microsoft 365 mailbox archive, lots of good stuff. So stories from the trenches combined with listener email is the show. Let's get started. And the first item I can show it on the screen here, and I'm just getting ready. Give me a second. Okay. The first link for tonight. I talked about this probably a few months ago, but it came up twice this week. This is a must. If you are deploying a new install of Windows 11 and the client has QuickBooks, you have to do this or they're not going to be able to save files as a PDF. Doesn't matter whether you have Adobe, doesn't matter what you have. It won't work unless, and we're going to scroll down here a little bit because they have a couple different solutions. It's really step 3. So you have to have the XPS document writer. And if you don't, you have to go to Control Panel, then go to Programs and Features, and you got to turn off a Windows feature. And that is the Microsoft XPS Document Writer. You'll click that, then click OK. It'll install, just takes a minute, and you'll have to reboot, and it will automatically work. It is fast, easy, and I have a client that was struggling over that, and I just totally forgot about that on a new install, and now it's on the checklist. If the client has QuickBooks, then you got to do that, because it was always defaulted installed, and I guess the newer versions of Windows 11, it's not doing it. So by default. So we have to add that. Now, a server move, and this is interesting. This is a client who sold his company. And this was the sports memorabilia client. As a matter of fact, it's the client, and he listens to the show. And Paul, I know you're listening. I still got to get you on the show. He wants to be on the show, but he's now retired. He sold the business, and God bless him. He's doing what he wants to do. I just hope you don't get bored. And one of the things that the new owner is moving because he didn't buy the building, and the building was sold, and he had to get the server. Now the server is running an old POS software that they're not currently using. The new owner implemented his own software, and that's great, and his own IT. And his IT guy looked at the server and said, "Oh no, I want nothing to do with that." And it's a nice Dell server, a few years old, but there's nothing wrong with it. And I don't think he understood Active Directory. I don't think he understood the nuances of a real server. And so we had to move that. So my son shut it down, moved it over to I was going to say new office. Office is a mess. My son said we offered, we got to get a wiring guy in there, and it's just, anyway, they need one desktop to connect to run this software. And just as a history. So the problem with starting up the server on this network is it's Active Directory DNS integrated and doing DHCP. So we can't have that conflict with whatever was installed in the new office. So the first thing I told my son, I said, you have to not connect it to the network. When you boot up, it's got a static IP address. So the first thing I made sure was, let's disable DNS server and DHCP server. Let's disable those services so they don't interfere, and then go into the network settings and let it obtain an IP address and obtain DNS. He did that in a couple minutes, worked flawlessly. But now we got one workstation that needs to connect. So when you're mapping a drive, we have to map as credentials on the network, and did that and was able to run the software and everything's good. Now, these desktops are very old, and they're really old Dells, barely running Windows 10 on most of them, and they definitely needed an upgrade. This is something we had discussions with the original owner and just never happened. So that's something I have to talk to the new owner, and he's got to really get ready. He's going to need a bunch of new computers. So that went well, and that was yesterday, my son working on that. And today they even had an issue because they were bringing up some of the older workstations, and we had to go into the network settings and just obtain so it could get on the current network, and all that's working. Now, Sunday morning, I received a text. A client received a PDF with a threatening letter that is a phishing scam that pretends they know and they're watching what you're doing, and you're going to bad sites, and they knew it was bad, but they just wanted to bring it up to me, and I was able to log in. I took a look at the PDF. I made sure that it wasn't infected, and it's just a threatening letter, and it says it's we're watching you, and and then it gives an amount of Bitcoin that and an address to give it to. It was almost like a ransomware, but it was a phishing scam, and I just wanted to bring that up. And it was more common now, but interesting that it was a PDF, and I haven't been seeing that. So tomorrow I have a listener that I've been helping him with his a couple times with some networking, and I'm going to help him tomorrow again. Going to use Instant House Call, and something I'm going to help him with, and then I'll probably talk about this next week. It's Windows 11 24H2, the latest iteration of Windows 11, the latest update. And the problem is map drives aren't working on the peer network. And he uses QuickBooks, and I have a few things that we're going to try tomorrow. So I'm scheduled to do that. And remember, if you ever have networking issues or things like that, and you want to, you want an extra pair of eyes or something that you need help with that I can teach you or help you with, please email me, MikeTechShow@gmail.com, and we'll set it up. And I have reasonable consultant to consultant rates, and, be glad to help you. Now, also, this is next week. I have a client that had an old Mac, bought a new Mac, and we migrated everything and helped them out. He has archived email in some folders on MacMail, and I got to get this to Outlook on his new. He has Microsoft Outlook for the Mac, Outlook 365, and I got to go from MacMail. I got to export a couple folders and then get it connected to his Outlook. How do we do that? There are some long processes to do it for free, where first you got to go to, you export it as an MBox file, and then you got to launch it into Eudora, and then Outlook Express, and then export. I'm not going through that. There are utilities out there that $39 to $49, and there's a ton of them. So here's what my request. Going from MacMail to Outlook, does anybody absolutely know of a utility that worked for you and it was flawless, and you were able to pick the folders that you wanted, and you were able to export them to like a PST or something? I would be grateful in that recommendation, because it's Tuesday of next week that I need to be ready. I have a couple that I'm going to try, and my son's going to be on site, and I'm going to run the trial version of one first, just to see if it lets us view what we want to view. And I think it only does a couple email messages, but that's okay. At least I can try it and test it before we pay for it and run it. It's only one system, so let me know what your recommendations are. I would appreciate that. I have another request for some help, and this is great because you always come through. And this is a crazy mouse issue. Client has 3 monitors at home, 3 monitors at his office. Has a Dell docking station, a really nice Dell XPS laptop loaded up very, very fast. The past month or two, when he moves the mouse from one screen to another, it sometimes gets lost and it drives him crazy. He can't find it. And he has to slam the mouse down. Now, the first thing you're thinking of, it needs batteries. Well, we made sure it's got new batteries, and it happens at both locations. And it's 2 separate Logitech mice. Replaced that, updated the drivers, no joy. Made sure that there's a dongle USB connection to keep it away, because that's another thing that happens with mice. If you have the transmitter and you have that on a USB port, and you have something else right beside it, sometimes there's interference and you have trouble. I found that out the hard way, and you kind of have to get like a 6-inch extension, USB extension, to get it away from the other USB ports. No joy. Went into the mouse settings, changed the cursor to be a better arrow, changed its colors. No joy. Anybody has some suggestions? I would love to have that. And if you can let me know. As a matter of fact, after the show tonight, I have to do an Outlook repair, or a Microsoft Office 365 repair, which, by the way, today, something must have been up with Microsoft and Outlook. I had 4 Outlook calls today, to the point where I thought there was some kind of a global problem, with Microsoft, but there wasn't. And they were all slightly different issues. 2 of them, the users hit the max on their OST file. So your 50 gig limit, and they hit that, and things were funky and slow and locking up and problems. I have another one where Outlook keeps crashing. Did an Outlook repair, did an Office quick repair, fixed the problem. But another client where it was crashing, the fix didn't fix the problem. So that's something that my son's going to be working on tonight remotely. I gave him a couple things to try, and we're going to see what's happening. But just a whole host of Outlook problems, which brings up a couple things that I want to talk about, and it leads into the emails. And I want to thank Sam and he wrote about the 50 gig archive limit, where in Microsoft 365, well, he's responding to this, and I still have to do this. As a matter of fact, Sam, I'm going to do this tomorrow. He recommended this. Hello, Mike. I have a quick solution for your client with the full archive in Microsoft 365. As you know, you have a 50 gig of mailbox plus a 50 gig archive, but you can extend that limit by slapping a license on top of it. The user still uses the Exchange Online P1 as part of their bundle or standalone. But when you put a standalone Exchange Plan 2 on top of the current one, the limit will be extended. The main mailbox will be upgraded to 100 gig. Your OST still can be 50, or disable caching and move to the new Outlook. By the way, can't move to the new Outlook on some clients, and which brings up another topic here. But because they're using Microsoft 365, they can use the new one. And the archive mailbox will be upgraded to unlimited, which is essentially 2 terabytes. This is how I deal with it when more than 50 gig used and never had a problem. Only downside is the cost of the extra license, but at that scale of storage, it doesn't even matter. And you are correct. And I have 2 attorneys from the same organization, that's Microsoft 365, that they've hit this archive limit, and I need to, take a look at this and do it. Here's the problem with the Outlook, the new Outlook, and that is hosted Exchange accounts are not compatible and never will be. So anybody with SureWeb as a host or App River, what are you doing? You have to use Outlook Classic. How long are they going to keep that available? And I would just love to know what other MSPs are, what are you doing if you have Exchange hosted and you can't move to the new Outlook? So that's a big problem. And so I have an email that actually, let me read this. This is a long email, and it's from Bill, and this just came in literally before the show. And he says, "Hi, Mike, from Security Now. A bit of poking around revealed that the sharp folks at Bleeping Computer were on top of this. Under their similar headline, Microsoft to force install new Outlook on Windows 10 PCs in February. They wrote, Microsoft will force install the new Outlook email client on Windows 10 systems starting with next month's security update. The announcement was made in a new message added to the company's Microsoft 365 Admin Center, tagged MC976059, and it applies to Microsoft 365 apps users. As Redmond explains, the new Outlook app will be installed on Windows 10 devices for users who deploy the optional January 28 update, and force installed for all who install the February 11 security update. The new Outlook client will run alongside the classic Outlook app and will not modify configurations or user defaults. Microsoft added that there's no way to block it from being installed on Windows 10 devices. However, those who don't want it can remove it afterwards. Microsoft wrote, new Outlook exists as an installed app on the device. For instance, it can be found in the apps section of the start menu. It does not replace existing classic Outlook or change any configuration user defaults. Both classic Outlook and new Outlook for Windows can run side by side. By the way, to interject, that has caused some real confusion for some of my clients. Okay, we continue. Currently, there is no way to block the new Outlook from being installed. If you prefer not to have the new Outlook show up on your organization's devices, you can remove it after it's installed as part of the update. The company added in a support document updated on Thursday. To remove the new Outlook app package after it's force installed on your Windows device, you can use remove AppX provisioned package commandlet with the package name parameter value Microsoft.Outlook for Windows. This can be done by running the following command from the Windows PowerShell prompt and adding a new reg value. I'm going to try to get a link to this so you don't have to do that for the registry. But it's a block OOBE updates with a value of MS Outlook. After removing the Outlook package, Windows updates will not reinstall the new Outlook client. That's a relief. The first preview version of the new Outlook for Windows was introduced in May 2022. The app was generally available for personal accounts in September 2023 via the September 26 Windows Fall Update and the Microsoft Store on Windows 11, and for commercial customers in August 2024. This doesn't seem like the end of the world, but some people may object to having Microsoft force installing a new and presumably unwanted Outlook client onto their machines. Yes, I am one of them, and especially, as I mentioned, every client that has any kind of Exchange hosted, they can't use this. So I can't believe they cripple the version to force everybody to go to Microsoft for Mail and then shove it down our throats by force installing it. I do not agree with this. The new client is apparently based upon the web version. It's essentially a port of the web client to a native Windows app. As such, it does not support Outlook's traditional and problematic PST file format, as it also does not support any COM, and that's component object model integration with Outlook. I also noticed that Microsoft says that unlike traditional Outlook for Windows, the new Outlook offers limited support for third-party email services such as Gmail, Yahoo, and so forth. Bill, thank you for sharing that with me. I will get a link to which Security Now version, which show that was, and I'll put a link to it in the show notes. So, very disappointed at Microsoft for doing this. And I'm also going to have a link to Microsoft 365, how you turn on archive to get that extra 50 gig. So that's very, very good. Let's continue with some emails. This was from Eric, and thank you today. This is a great solution. Hey, Mike, you were talking about a client that lives in an older house with terrible Wi-Fi. A cheap and easy solution when you can't run Ethernet is broadband over power line. I've used an older version that did 100 megs and was very reliable. Now you can buy gigabit ones and have an adapter in every room of the house. Just pair them to each other and it will be a secure network. Eric, that is a great solution. And I literally made a calendar appointment for tomorrow to call the one client that I was talking about that had the problem. What a great solution. So it's not my first choice. I would rather a good Cat 6 wire being installed, but when you can't run the wire, then take advantage of the broadband over power line. I like it. This is from Hilton. Just listen to show 933. Just a couple of comments. Your idea of using laptops and docks is awesome. Not just for continuity. It also lowers your support costs and security attack surface when you get rid of the duplicate computers. The only negatives really are theft, damage, or data security. BitLocker can help with the security. Absolutely. Any laptop, BitLocker. We get all of our Dell hardware with accidental damage on the warranty. That protects against damage because Dell will replace the hardware once a year, even if you break it through neglect. I mean, that's good to know. So then there's just theft. Keep up the good work and keep spreading those good ideas, helping young techs get better every day. Hilton, thank you. Great email. This is, boy, I really breezed through everything. And that's how I'm looking at my notes here, making sure, I think I had more, and I don't think I wrote them down. I had a lot of ideas for more in the trenches. So this is from Frank, and he's a longtime listener, and he first started around late March 2005. Man, think about that. That's over 20 years ago. Although I'm a little behind on shows, just listen to 928. I wanted to let you know that I needed to update my Fab software and remembered that you had an affiliate link. I tried that, but it redirects to a not found on this site. And I got to reach out to Fabrice. And it's why I haven't been putting the affiliate link in there, because they're not working, and I'm not doing something right. And he wants me to get credit for the purchase. And I know Fabrice is very good at that, but I have to get the links, the proper link, and then embed it in every show notes. So it's why I stopped really talking about it. And I use Fabs all the time, and I am an affiliate. And if you are buying it, I have to get a link just to get credit. And Frank, thank you for that. And he was going to forward that on to Fabrice, who's the creator and owner of Fabs Auto Backup. And for anybody who hasn't heard of that, that's a program that will take all of your settings and move them as you're going from one operating system to another, or just any one computer to another. It is awesome. And you can buy one tech license, I think, that's good forever. I don't know. I think now that you have to, I think you may have a small fee every year or something to buy, but it's the price. It's worth it for what you get. And especially with the complexities of email, where you got to migrate someone's email account or multiple accounts from one system to another, that gets really complex, and it just takes care of that, which is really, really nice. So thank you, everybody, for following up and the suggestions. I need suggestions for the crazy mouse issue, and I would really appreciate that. And I need recommendations for the MacMail to Outlook migration. Somebody who's done it successfully. What did you buy? What did you use? I would really appreciate it. That's it for tonight's show. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube. It's Michael Smith MTS over on youtube.com. That's where all the videos are, including for tonight's show. I always post it up there the minute I'm done the show. And just click like, and remember to support the show. Really appreciate all donations. There's a PayPal link for donating. If you got something out of the show, you like it, there was some help, support the show. You hear I don't have any sponsors, so that is the way to support the show. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And I'll be back next week, same time, same channel. Bye-bye, everybody.